6 a.m. Early October. Corn is ready. Weather window, 3 days. Maybe 4 if you're lucky. You climb into the cab, fire up the machine, and the display throws a fault code you have never seen before. You call the dealer. He's 2 hours away. Next available technician slot, Tuesday. It's Friday morning. That's not a breakdown. That's a harvest gone. And on a 2,500-acre operation, a locked-out tractor at peak harvest runs roughly $1,200 in lost capacity every single day. 3 days of waiting, $3,600 in missed ground. And the machine is sitting in the shed because a dealer needs to type a password into it before it'll run. Meanwhile, quietly, without a Super Bowl ad, without a dealer in every county, the Fendt 942 Vario has been showing up in more Midwest equipment sheds than most people realize. Farmers who swore they'd run green iron until they retired are signing over the trade-in paperwork. That's the story nobody is covering. Let's cover it. First, let's be honest about how John Deere got here. Because they didn't get here by accident, and they didn't get here by being bad at building tractors. For decades, green iron earned its place. The dealer network was real. Parts availability was real. The resale value on a used 8R held better than almost anything else on the market. By the 2010s, green iron commanded north of 50% market share in large row crop equipment across the United States. They didn't just sell tractors, they sold an ecosystem. Financing, data systems, service infrastructure, loyalty built across 3 generations of farm families. Farmers bought green because green worked. That is the honest starting point, and it matters. But something changed. 3 things, actually, and they're all connected. Let's start under the hood, because that's where the performance gap began. Fendt built the Vario continuously variable transmission in-house from scratch in the 1990s, and they never stopped refining it. The Fendt 942 Vario runs a 12.4-liter MAN engine paired to the ML260 Vario transmission. John Deere's 8R410 runs the 9-liter PowerTech with the E23 PowerShift. Same horsepower class on paper. Completely different philosophy in the field. Here's what that means, in plain terms. Every time a conventional transmission shifts, even a good one, there is a moment where power to the ground interrupts. You feel it as a lurch. The machine hunts. Traction events happen. On variable soil resistance, pulling a 48-row planter at consistent speed, that interruption matters more than most operators realize until they've run without it. The Fendt Vario has no power interruption. None. It's a hydrostatic mechanical split-path unit that delivers continuous torque from essentially 0 to top speed. No gears to change. The operator sets a target ground speed. The tractor finds the most efficient engine RPM to maintain it. And it holds. Simple concept, brutally precise execution. The measurable result shows up in the fuel bill. Field data from European operator studies puts the Vario architecture at 8 to 12% better fuel consumption in comparable draft conditions against competitive PowerShift units. On a 2,500-acre corn operation running 500 hours in a season. That gap works out to roughly 3,000 to 4,500 liters of diesel per year. Translate that to current Midwest diesel prices, and you're looking at $4,000 to $6,000 per season staying in your pocket instead of going to the fuel supplier. The 8R410 and the Fendt 942 Vario cost within range of each other at list price. But the 942 is quieter in the cab. The engine isn't hunting RPM through a shift sequence. The ride is flatter through the headland. The Vario grip joystick puts every implement function under your right hand without a single menu dive. Operators who have run green iron for 30 years describe the first week in a Fendt as learning a new instrument. Smoother power delivery, lower fuel burn, less operator fatigue across a 14-hour day. That is not marketing copy, that is physics showing up in your operating budget. Here at Soilframe, we cover the real story behind the machines, not the press releases, not the dealer talking points. If this is the kind of breakdown you've been looking for, subscribe right now and share this with a fellow operator. Subscribe to Soilframe. The stuff the green iron salesman would rather you didn't hear. Now let's talk about what green iron actually costs to run. Not the sticker price, not the financing rate your dealer quotes in January when the showroom is quiet. The real number. The one that shows up 3 years in, when the warranty has expired and the dealer's labor rate is sitting at $175 an hour. An out-of-warranty 8R with a transmission event, not a catastrophic failure, a calibration fault, a solenoid pack replacement, can generate a dealer invoice between $8,000 and $22,000, depending on what they find once they're inside it. That's not per decade. That's per event. On a 3,000-acre soybean farm running $11 beans, an $18,000 repair invoice is roughly 1,600 bushels, about 15 acres of yield. Not lost to weather, not lost to disease pressure, lost to a solenoid and a dealer's labor clock. Run the 10-year model. A serious row crop operator trading into a new 8R on a 5-year cycle faces multiple major dealer service events per machine over its working life. Stack 2 machines in a fleet, which is a modest operation at 3,000 acres, and you're looking at several major unplanned service events per decade. At an industry average somewhere around $15,000 per event, that is $60,000 in unplanned dealer spend over 10 years. On top of scheduled maintenance, on top of the note payment, on top of the fuel bill you already calculated. The Fendt 942 Vario service economics look different for a structural reason. The Vario transmission has fewer wear components in the power transfer path because there is no shift clutch sequence cycling under load, fewer clutch packs, fewer solenoids wearing through. Maintenance intervals on the Vario unit run longer than comparable powershift systems, and critically, Fendt's dealer and service network in North America has been expanding, not consolidating. Fewer miles to a technician, fewer days waiting on a slot, more availability when the crop is ready and the window is closing. In this business, availability is a yield input. And John Deere has been making availability worse, not better. But the repair bills are only part of this story. The deepest problem with modern green iron isn't what it costs to fix. It's whether you're allowed to fix it at all. John Deere's equipment runs on a proprietary software ecosystem layered over embedded machine software that the farmer cannot access, cannot independently diagnose, and cannot authorize an independent mechanic to repair without Deere's direct sign-off. That's not a minor inconvenience on a bad day. That's a legal and financial architecture built into a machine you paid $400,000 for and then handed the keys back to the manufacturer. Farmers have documented being unable to initialize a replacement hydraulic pump, a mechanical part, a wrench job, work a skilled farmhand could complete in an afternoon, because the new unit requires dealer-side software authorization before the machine will recognize it. The tractor is physically capable of running. The software will not allow it. Locked out of your own cab, stranded at the worst possible moment, paying a dealer to type a password into the machine you own. In 2023, John Deere signed a memorandum of understanding with the American Farm Bureau Federation. They called it a commitment to expand repair access. Farmers wanted to believe it. Then they read it carefully. The MOU is non-binding. It does not open embedded software to independent shops. It does not authorize third-party mechanics to perform anything beyond basic scheduled maintenance. It is a press release wearing the costume of a policy change. And the farmers who got burned by it are not quiet about it. The Federal Trade Commission flagged anti-competitive repair restrictions and filed suit against Deere in January 2025 under the Sherman Act. The regulatory environment is shifting, but Deere is contesting every inch of ground. Meanwhile, farmers are stranded, right now, during planting, during harvest, during the windows that don't come back. Fendt, operating under AGCO and shaped by European regulatory pressure around open service access, has taken a meaningfully different posture on repair access. That difference is now showing up in purchase orders across the Corn Belt. The market evidence isn't anecdotal anymore. Fendt's North American sales volume in the 250-plus horsepower row crop segment has grown consistently over the past several years. The growth is concentrated in large acre Midwest row crop operations, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, western Minnesota. Exactly the customer profile that John Deere built its premium business around. These are not experimental buyers. These are operators running thousands of acres who cannot afford to guess wrong on an equipment decision. Fleet operators, custom harvesters, farm managers running 10,000 plus acres in a season, operators who do the cost per acre math before they sign anything. Those operators are disproportionately represented in Fendt's expanding customer base. John Deere still holds real ground. In the sub-150 horsepower utility segment, green iron remains dominant. In the used equipment market, an 8R holds resale value that the Fendt 942 Vario cannot currently match at comparable age and hours. In regions where Fendt's service network is still building out, parts of the Southern Plains, sections of the Delta, green iron wins on support infrastructure simply because the dealer is closer. That is a real advantage. It deserves honest acknowledgement. But look carefully at which categories Deere is defending and which ones they're losing. The utility segment, the used market, the underserved regions. The categories they're retreating from are the high horsepower, high margin, high volume row crop accounts, the operators who buy new iron every 5 years and run it hard. Holding the small tractor market while losing the serious row crop customer is not a competitive strategy. It is a managed retreat dressed up in green paint. We have watched this happen before in American industry. American motorcycle manufacturing spent decades treating European and Japanese engineering as a boutique curiosity, expensive, complicated, irrelevant to the real rider. Then the real rider started doing math instead of wearing loyalty like a jersey. They calculated reliability, they calculated total ownership cost, they calculated service availability, and they left. Not in a single dramatic moment, one machine at a time, one purchasing cycle at a time, until the numbers were simply undeniable. The American incumbent wasn't displaced by a revolution. It was displaced by arithmetic that finally got too obvious to ignore. The same arithmetic is running on American farms right now. Every season a farmer misses a planting window because a software lock keeps his machine in the shed. That's another entry in the spreadsheet. Every invoice at $18,000 for a repair that should have taken an afternoon. Another entry. Every dealer consolidation that moves the nearest technician 2 counties further away. Another entry. Farmers don't walk away from green iron out of emotion. They walk away when the spreadsheet tells them to. And the spreadsheet is talking. The Fendt 942 Vario is not a perfect tractor. No tractor is. The dealer network in certain geographies is still building out. The upfront capital commitment is real. The learning curve for operators switching from a power shift platform takes a full season to work through completely. But for the serious Midwest row crop operator doing honest cost per acre math across fuel, unplanned repairs, downtime risk, and service availability, the numbers are pointing somewhere new. One farm at a time. One trade-in paperwork at a time. One neighbor who notices a different color tractor in the field next door and starts asking questions he wouldn't have asked 5 years ago. That is how this market changes. Not in a headline. Not in a corporate press release. In the math. Always in the math. Thanks for watching Soilframe. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with a fellow farmer and comment below your thoughts on this topic. See you in the next one.